All right, guys. We are going to start seated today. So you might want to get yourself a pillow or a blanket to sit up on. Find a comfortable cross-legged position. Sitting up nice and tall. And assuming you are sitting on something, I really do recommend that you are right on the edge of that something, so that your hips, rather than being sort of rounded towards the back of the room, can tilt slightly forward, which probably in reality just brings them more upright. And then go ahead and line up the shoulders over the hips and the ears over the shoulders. And then close your eyes and find your breath. Listen to it come in and listen to it go out. Watching the rise and fall of the chest. Noticing how the back body expands and contracts with each inhale and exhale. Feeling the collarbones expand and soften back down again. Breath is smooth, deep, and easy. Ideally, we've maintained that ease of breath throughout our entire practice. When you lose track of your breath, that's a sign that it's time to pause, tune back in. We'll take 3 more breaths here. And then when you're ready, just go ahead and switch the feet. Place the other ankle in front. Sit up nice and tall again. Notice what that little change feels like. Go ahead and place your hands on your knees. We're just going to draw some circles kind of with the center of the torso, almost as though you were thinking of your spine as a jump rope, right? And the center sort of moving around. So the head and the hips stay put, but we press the heart forward, off to one side, press the heart towards the back of the room, over to the other side and forward again, and just start to make some circles here. And it will involve some movement in the shoulders, in the hips, maybe even a little bit in the neck, but really more than a precise set of movements, we're looking for something that feels good. Now go ahead and change direction. Noticing if it feels any different than the original direction. We'll meet back at a neutral spine. Bring your focus and your attention to the tip of your nose. Your eyes can be closed, so your mind's eye to the tip of the nose. And we're going to draw an infinity symbol with the tip of the nose. So basically a figure 8 on its side. You can start in whatever direction you'd like. How big or small this movement is up to you. But we're just going to move the head and neck around. Don't push it past where it feels good. If you've ever had a kink in your neck, you know you don't want one. Next time you come to center, pause and change direction. Everyone's neck moves its own way. Next time you get to center, pause. We're going to turn it into a proper figure 8, up and down, same movement. I was teaching this in a class one time and opened my eyes, looked around, and everybody was doing it a little bit different. So it really is about how it feels. Next time you get to center, pause and change direction. I have been assured that the Rice Krispie sounds that at least I hear in my neck as I move this about are perfectly safe. If it doesn't hurt, you should be good. Meet back at center. Bring fingertips down by your sides. We're just going to move our arms a little bit with our breath here. So inhale, arms up. And exhale, float the hands back down. Inhale, arms back up. Exhale, float the arms back down. 3 more, just like that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more complete breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, float them back down. Leave that left hand down on the floor. Bring the right arm back up alongside the ear. Walk that left hand out until the right hip gets light. When it does, glue that hip back down to the floor and lengthen the right side of the body. Keep the left shoulder out of the ear, so maybe a slight bend in the elbow there. If you feel like your neck needs a little more love, you can lift the gaze up towards that right elbow and then back down towards the floor. You can go back and forth. You can pause anywhere along the route. One more breath. Inhale all the way back up and switch. Right hand comes down. Left arm is now up alongside the ear. Walk that right hand out till the left hip gets light. Glue that hip back down and lengthen the left side of the body. Right shoulder is out of the ear. And then again, if you'd like to play a little bit with moving the head around, you are more than welcome to do so. Take 1 more breath. Inhale all the way back up again. Exhale, forward fold. So wherever you ended up, Back those hands up, at least one handprint, maybe even more. Soften the elbows. Take the shoulders out of the ears. We want to keep the chest open here. And so if we've got our shoulders all scrunched up, that shortens the front body here. The tendency then is to have all the length be in the back body. We want to open up the chest a little bit, be able to breathe freely, and take this movement out of the upper back and more into the hips. Again, feel free to add any sort of wiggles or movement once you get to where you're going. You can also stay still. Let's take one more breath here. Inhale all the way back up, arms reach up overhead. Note which ankle you have in front. Go ahead and float the knees. Uncross the feet. You can leave tippy toes down on the floor. Knees are in line with the hips. My knees have a tendency to go out, so I need to work on pulling them in. Chest is up and open. Go ahead and float the right foot just to knee height. Bring it back down. And left foot to knee height. And bring it back down. And then go back and forth a few times, lifting that right foot, then the left, then the right, then the left. Maybe one more on each side. And then we do have the option to float both feet. Maybe extend. We're going to hold for 3 breaths. 2, 1. Go ahead and have a seat with the other ankle in front. And exhale, forward fold. So again, we're going to take the shoulders out of the ears. The chest is open. Breathing into those hips. Take 2 more breaths. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale, twist to the right. Right hand down behind. Left hand can be on that right knee or down in front, but the chest is up and open. Gaze is slightly down over that back shoulder. Leaving the heart around to the right, go ahead and turn the gaze over that front shoulder. Head back to neutral. Inhale, arms all the way back up and switch. Left hand down behind, right hand can either be in front or over on that left knee. Chest is up and around. Gaze starts off down over that back shoulder. And then maybe turning and looking down over that front shoulder. Head back to neutral. Inhale, arms all the way back up. And exhale, release. Hands come back to the lap. Just any sort of comfortable resting pose. This is where we started. Notice how it feels. And when you're ready, go ahead and clear your mat. We will meet in tabletop. Spread the fingers wide, index fingers pointed forward, creases of the elbows turn forward. Knees are lined up underneath the hips, feet behind the knees. Go ahead, reach that right leg back, toes curl under on the floor, press back that right heel. And so initially, we push everything back, like I'm pushing into the heels of my hands, sending that right heel back a little bit further. If I want to get it a little bit deeper, a couple of tiny little tweaks. First off, I can just lift the gaze. lengthening the front side of the body. I can even press that right hip forward a little bit while still pinning the right heel back. Pull in the belly. Take one more breath here. Press firmly into the top of that left foot, float that right leg. Just hip height. Watch that that right hip does not try and stack over the left. If you look underneath you, the toes should be down towards the floor. Pull in the belly, pull in the ribs. Maybe get light in the left hand. Maybe reach that left hand forward, thumb up. Take another breath here. Bring that left hand back down. Bend the right knee. Bring the knee up towards the right shoulder. Place the right foot outside the right hand. And then go ahead and rock around in that right hip. You can go front to back. You can go side to side. You can make circles. Take another breath here. Reach that right leg back again and bring the knee down. Left leg reaches back, toes curl under on the floor. Press back that left heel. Find something that feels good. And then if you want just a smidge more, start to lift the gaze. Maybe the ribs reach a little bit further forward. Straighten that left knee just a little bit more. Take another breath here. Press firmly into the top of the right foot. Float that left leg, just hip height. Toes are pointed down towards the floor. Hips are level. Maybe come to fingertips on that right hand. Pull in the belly. Push the floor away. Maybe that right hand reaches forward. Thumb up. Take one more breath here. Bring that right hand back down. Bend the left knee. Bring the knee up towards the left shoulder. Place the left foot outside the left hand. And go ahead and move around in that hip. Take another breath here. Leave the left foot where it is, curl the right toes under, step the right foot up outside the right hand. So feet are wide, my feet are off my primary mat. All 10 toes are pointed forward. Let the upper body be heavy here. Knees are soft. And start to lift the hips. My knees are not all the way straight. I've got a little soft bend in them still. But as I get into those hamstrings a little bit more, maybe the hips lift a little bit more. But these are tiny little movements. We want to keep that upper back loose and heavy. Take another breath down here. Bringing fingertips to the floor, or maybe even hands on blocks. We'll go ahead and heel toe walk the feet in underneath the hips. Again, all 10 toes are pointed forward. Ball mounts of the big toes are a little closer together than the heels. Knees are soft. Slide the hands up the shins to just below the kneecaps. Straighten the elbows. Lengthen the spine. Nothing in the legs changes. Shoulders move back towards the hips. Belly in. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. Hold here. Lift the tailbone a little bit higher. Maybe soften the knees a little bit more. Exhale, forward fold. Deep bend to those knees. Push all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Pause here for a moment. Once again, we've got ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over heels. Knees are soft, creases of the elbows turn forward. Lower belly in and up. Excuse me. One more breath here. Inhale, arms up, arms reach up overhead, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, plant the hands, step the feet back to plank pose. Top of a push-up, creases of the elbows turn forward, index fingers are forward, heads of the shoulders over the heels of the hands, heels of the feet over the toes. Rock forward on your tippy toes, bring the knees down, shoulders back, open the chest, lower slow and controlled all the way to your belly. Hold those elbows in as you go. Heels of the hands end up down at the lower ribs or your waist. Press firmly into the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift head, heart, shoulders. Knees are locked. Exhale, release. Press into the tops of the feet. Kneecaps are lifted, belly in. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Two more, just like that. Charge up the legs. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Last one. Anchor that lower body and inhale, lift. Lift a little bit higher. Exhale, release. Stack one hand on top of the other. Rest your forehead on your hands. Bend the knees and wave your feet from side to side. Take one more breath here. Release the feet. Plant the hands next to the ribs again. Press up and back to child's pose. So bring the big toes to touch. Knees are outer hip distance, maybe even the width of your mat. Hips to the heels, pose of the child. Leave your arms out in front for the moment. Heart is melting down towards the floor. Hips are moving back. You can wiggle a little bit from hip to hip, shifting the weight from side to side if that feels good. Go ahead and look up between the thumbs. Come to fingertips with both hands, as though you had a tennis ball under each hand. So elbows are straight, arms are off the floor, fingertips down. Walk that right hand over to about a 90-degree angle, about a 45-degree angle, not all the way to the side, halfway there. And then walk the left hand over to meet it. Walk those left fingertips a little bit further forward and then press into the fingertips, pushing that left hip back. Shoulders stay level here. Take one more breath. Walk yourself back through center. And then the left hand wanders off. About a 45-degree angle. Right hand walks over to meet it. Reach those right fingertips a little bit further forward, then press into them and push that right hip back. Shoulders stay level. Take one more breath here. Walk yourself back to center. Curl the toes under. Lift the hips, walk the hands back to meet the feet. Forward fold at the back of the mat, soft knees. Head and shoulders, upper back relaxed and heavy. Hips lifting. Take one more breath down here. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Walk yourself out to plank pose. Drop the right knee straight down. Step the left foot up in between the hands. All the way up to the top. You want to end up with your left heel under the left knee. Right knee is well behind that right hip. Go ahead and walk yourself up that left leg. So I like to release the back toes and press the top of the foot into the floor. You can leave your toes curled under if that helps with the stability a little bit better. Watch that your right foot doesn't wander to the left. Belly in, ribs in, arms reach up overhead. Pelvic floor is lifting, so we're not dropping down into the groin here. I actually am looking for a stretch in the front of that right hip, down into the quadricep. So I want those hips to stay strong and engaged. Take one more breath here. Exhale, release. Plank pose. Left knee drops straight down. Right foot steps up in between the hands. Heel is lined up directly underneath that right knee. Go ahead and walk yourself up that right leg. Again, be conscious of that back foot. You don't want it wandering to the right. And we want it active. So I have the top of the foot pressing firmly into the floor. Belly in, ribs in, arms reach up overhead. Pelvic floor is lifted. Imagine your hips moving under and lifting up. Take another breath here. Exhale, release. Step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Plank pose. Rock forward, knees down, lower slow and controlled all the way to your belly. Press firmly into the tops of the feet. Squeeze those elbows in. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release to either child's pose or downward facing dog. Excuse me. Either pose. It's about lengthening the spine. Either pose can be a resting pose. Take another breath wherever you're at. We will all once again meet in plank pose. Left knee comes straight down. Right foot steps up in between the hands. Leave the left hand under the left shoulder. You can have a block underneath that hand if you would like. Reach the right arm up. Bend into that right knee a little bit deeper. So the hips come down a little bit lower. And reach that right arm for the back of the room. Now you can just stay right here. This helps sort of enhance the twist, opening up the chest. If you would like to add a quadricep stretch to this, you can bend that left knee and maybe catch that foot. Watch that your right knee doesn't fall to the right and you just sort of collapse to the ground. Keep it strong. Keep that right knee pulling in. If you find yourself back on this left kneecap, bring the hips forward. The weight should be more on the quad than on the knee. One more breath. And release. Back to your child's pose or down dog. Meet back in plank pose. Right knee comes straight down. Step the left foot up in between the hands. Right hand is going to stay under the right shoulder. It can be on a block if you'd like. Reach that left arm up. Watch that that left knee doesn't fall to the left. Keep some weight in the big toe side of that foot. Bend that left knee a little bit deeper. Reach that left arm for the back of the room. This is where that knee is going to really start to open. Try to resist that. We want to stay strong through the hips here. Option to bend that right knee and pull the heel in. Again, if you find yourself sort of with your hips moving back, trying to catch that foot, you end up on that kneecap. I want you to bend deeply into that left knee again and get the weight moving forward. Take another breath here. Exhale, release. Plank pose. Rock forward, knees down, lower slow and control. Bring your arms down by your sides, palms up. Press firmly into the tops of the feet, kneecaps are lifted. Pull the lower abdominal muscles in, tilting that tailbone down. Inhale, lift, head, heart, shoulders, float the arms. Spread the fingers, palms are up. Exhale, release. Charge up the legs, pull in the belly. Inhale, lift. It's real easy to lose that belly engagement here, so keep focusing there. Protecting the lower back. One more breath. Exhale, release. Last one. Charge up the legs. Pull in the belly. Inhale, lift. Lift the arms a little bit higher. Keeping the knees locked. If you would like to float the feet, you can, but it's not a bend to the knees. Keep those big toes reaching back more than up. One more breath. Exhale, release. All the way back down. Stack one hand on top of the other. Rest your forehead on your hands. Bend the knees and wave the feet from side to side. Letting the effort of those back bends go. One more breath. And then lengthening the spine back out again. Your choice, child's pose or down dog. We'll take 2 or 3 breaths wherever you're at. Resetting the spine. And then go ahead and bring your feet up towards your hands. Forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Grab your blocks, highest setting. You don't have to use blocks here, but I would rather start with them and then decide to ditch them than the other way around. Step your left foot all the way to the back of the mat. Far enough back that you can line up right knee over right ankle, hip in line with knee. So you don't want that right hip up and out to the side. Blocks move back with you. They're just arm extenders. So they're directly under the shoulders and the chest is open. Now rock front to back a few times on that left foot. As you rock forward, if that right knee is going past the big toe, you probably need to lengthen your stance. Next time you rock forward, bring that left knee straight down and inhale, arms up. So once again, right hip back, left hip forward, pelvic floor is lifting. We've been here before. Maybe this time we sink a little bit deeper. Exhale, release. Hands come down around. We're going to go ahead and roll up on that right heel. I always need to shimmy that right heel forward, right foot forward a little bit. The heel usually ends up around where my toes were. And then pulling the hips back, rolling up on that right heel. We want to end up with left hip over the left knee. Chest is open. So yeah, I can place my hands on the floor and round my back and get my nose pretty darn close to my knee. It doesn't necessarily change the stretch in the hamstring. If anything, it just cuts off my airway a little bit more. So I want to leave the chest up and open. Right hip moving back, left hip moving forward. And then maybe reach my heart towards the big toe. One more breath here. Exhale, release, soften that right knee. And step to the top of the mat. Readjust the feet a little bit if you need to. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Perhaps grab your blocks and step your right foot to the back of the mat. Left knee over ankle and hip in line with knee. Don't let that hip wander up and out. Rock front to back a few times on that right foot. Just getting into the toes, into the arch of the foot a little bit. But also measuring. If that left knee as you rock forward is going past the big toe, probably need to lengthen your stance. Next time you rock forward, bring that right knee straight down. Inhale, arms up. Maybe bending a little deeper into that left knee, but we stay strong and lifted through the pelvic floor. Exhale, release, hands come down around. We're going to roll up on that left heel again. So I'm going to start by wiggling my left foot forward. Heel gets to about where my toes were, and then move the hips back. Want to end up with left hip over left knee. Not off to, or I'm sorry, right hip over right knee. Not off to the right, not back behind. Left hip back, right hip forward. Foot is flexed, toes are active. Chest is open. As that hamstring starts to open, you may choose to move. If it gets painful, you may choose to back off. You've got to listen to your body. One more breath here. Soften that front knee. Curl the back toes under, pick up that knee, and we're going to walk ourselves around to the long side of the mat. Parallel the feet. All 10 toes are now pointed at the right side of your mat. Take a nice big breath in, and exhale, forward fold. Now this is one of my favorite forward folds. My preferred way to get into this one, and everybody can do their own version, is I leave all 10 fingers pointed to the long side of the mat. Palms are down. Walking my hands back underneath me, about shoulder distance with those hands, but the heels of the hands stay down the whole time. So I get to wherever I'm going to get, and then I can maybe fold in a little bit deeper. Keeping the elbows in line with the shoulders, wrists in line with the elbows, shoulders out of the ears. Other options would be to reach out and grab your big toes, walk the hands forward, whatever feels good to you. Take another breath here. Exhale, release. Walk yourself back up to the top of the mat. Maybe take your blocks with you and step that right foot forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Bring the left hand behind the back. Right hand, we're going to forward fold and place that right hand underneath the left knee on the left shin. So it's way up high. Yep, I can grab my ankle, I can even put my hand on the floor. I want that hand all the way up towards the knee. Straighten the right elbow, so I get to a flat back of sorts. Soften the right knee, so that right hip will dip. Turn, look over the left shoulder. Now we're looking to stack the shoulders if that's possible. If you get there, if you've got a clear view of the ceiling, you can raise that left arm up. Crown of the head is reaching forward. One more breath. Watch that this left knee isn't locked. And release. Untwist. Inhale all the way up. Right hand now comes behind the back. Left hand down to that right shin. Just below the kneecap. Straighten the left elbow. Soften the left knee. The heel stays down, but we're bending that knee as much as we can. And then turn, look over the right shoulder. Right knee is soft. We're actually pushing the shin forward into that left hand. If you've got those shoulders stacked, you can reach that right hand up. Otherwise, behind the back is a great way to keep working in that direction. One more breath. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Go ahead, grab your blocks. Step your left foot to the back of the mat. Left knee comes straight down. Now we're gonna head to pigeon. And it's not gonna be super graceful. That's what the blocks are here for though, to help us with some balance. So we're going to wiggle that right foot off to the left. And it's probably gonna come back a little bit. So when we get that right foot about in front of the left hip, we're gonna let that right knee come forward and down. You can keep using the blocks or you can ditch them. If this is bothersome to your right knee, this can all be done on your back. It's the same shape, less pressure on the knee. To keep your knee feeling okay, activate that right foot. So now the hips. We want the hips equal distance from the front of the room. So more than likely your right hip is a little bit in front of the left. Bring that right hip back. We also want our hips equal distance from the mat beneath us. So we don't want to find ourselves sort of dropped onto that right hip and left hip disconnected. We want the hips equal distance from the floor. Then how do we get a little bit of this back bend out? Because this isn't supposed to be about the back bend so much. It's about the front of that left hip. So pull in the belly, pull in the ribs. It may mean you're higher up. That's okay. Right hip back, left hip forward. Take another breath here. Exhale, release, forward fold. Over that right leg. Maybe you end up still using those blocks and your elbows stay up on blocks. Maybe you end up laying out flat on the floor. Maybe you're somewhere in between. Take 2 more breaths. Bring the torso all the way back up. Maybe grab those blocks, maybe don't. Pick up that back knee, step back to plank pose. Right knee comes down, left foot steps up in between the hands. Again, you might want to grab some blocks here just to help with the balance. We're going to let that left foot wander off to the right. And then bring that left knee down. You can back that left foot up a little bit. The more that forward that foot is, the more in line that foot is with the knee, the more intense it's going to be on that hip. So you decide where you're at today. And then we want to get into all those little details again. So hips are equal distance from the floor, equal distance from the front of the room. Belly in, ribs in. Kind of pushing the torso back. Right now, it is all about that right hip. Opening up the front of that back leg. Take another breath here. And then we're going to fold out over that left leg. This is where the stretch moves into the glute of that left hip. And again, take any sort of support you need. It does not need to look the same on both sides. I have 2 very different hips. They both stretch very differently. It's much easier for me to sink into that left hip than the right, so I need to actually find little ways to tweak this pose to get as much satisfaction out of it. So I keep pulling the left hip back, right hip forward. Hips are still equal distance from the floor. And I keep reaching the heart forward. Take another breath here. Walk yourself all the way back up. Now we are going to go ahead, drop down onto that left hip and swing that right leg around. If you'd like to, we're going to sit for a few minutes, so if you'd like to sit on the edge of a blanket or a pillow again, feel free. We're going to bring both legs out in front. Give them a little shake. Wiggle the toes, move the ankles around a little bit. And then when you're ready, go ahead and flex the feet. Spread the toes. If you need to have a little bend in the knees, have a little bend in the knees. But we want the spine to stay upright. Front of the spine long. So if bringing legs out in front is really hard on your hamstrings with the knees straight, what'll happen is it'll start to pull your tailbone under because it's trying to shorten the line between heels and hips. So if you can bend the knees a little bit and get that heart lifted up, getting that tailbone untucked, you have a better shot of getting at those hamstrings. In the meantime, we're going to bring palms down on the floor. Thumbs are in line with about the hips. Elbows are a little bit back behind me. Squeeze those elbows together and open the chest. Flex the feet, spread the toes. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Now, if this is already your hamstring stretch, if you've found something that feels good, then stay here. If you have not, you can start to bring the heart forward. But again, we're not rounding and collapsing the upper body here. So you take it wherever you need to go, wherever you can keep the chest open and find something interesting in those hamstrings. Just don't let the tailbone round back under. Kind of defeats the purpose. Take 2 more breaths. And release. We're going to go ahead and lie down on our backs. Knees bent. Open the arms to a T or goal post. If it's goal post, as long as your knuckles, wrists, and elbows all rest comfortably on the floor, that'll work. Set your hips off center to the left. Bring the knees in and over to the right. Leaving that left shoulder grounded, everything else is up to you. You can decide to bring those knees higher, you can bring the knees lower, get to different points in your back. You can place a little extra weight on that top knee, or you can even place something in between the knees to make that more comfortable. We want to be able to relax in whatever twist we have chosen. Take 2 more breaths here. Bring the knees all the way back up. Set your hips off center to the right. Bring the knees in and over to the left. So again, right shoulder stays grounded this time. Everything else is up to you. And the two sides of the body, at least for me in this pose, can feel very different. I need a little bit of support in between the knees when I twist in this direction, whereas the other direction, I almost want a little weight on the knees. Take 2 more breaths here. Bring the knees all the way back up. If there is anything else your body needs before heading to Shavasana, go ahead and address that. Maybe all you need is a little pillow under your head and a blanket for your body. Maybe you need to do a headstand. That is all up to you. Eventually coming to a place of rest. If your back is bothering you, remember knees bent, feet wide, toes turned in, knees falling in. Constructive rest pose. Otherwise, you can have legs extended, feet still wide, legs relaxed. Elbows are far enough away from the ribs to get some airflow all the way up to the armpits without the elbows being higher than the shoulders. And you can have those elbows bent and fingertips resting on belly or hips, just not interlaced. Or arms by your sides, palms up. And then close your eyes and breathe. Breathing in and breathing out. When your mind wanders off and you notice, bring it back to the breath, back to the mat, back to your body. Slowly allow your breath to deepen. Bringing your awareness back to the room and back to your body. Wiggling fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, arms and legs. Eventually bending your knees, rolling over to your right side, pausing there for a breath or two. Until you're ready to press yourself back up to a comfortable seated position, eyes closed one more time. I'm grateful to be back on the mat. Grateful to feel comfortable once again in my body. Wishing you peace and joy and love and light. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, and Namaste.